Hey there, and welcome. Today, we're jumping right into what is, without a doubt, the most important topic for anyone who sets foot in a lab: safety. But this isn't just going to be a boring list of rules. We're going to pull back the curtain on the whole system that keeps scientists safe day in and day out.
So let's start with a big question. What truly keeps a lab safe? Is it just a bunch of warning labels and signs on the wall? Not even close. The real answer is actually way more interesting, and it's all about layers.
I want you to think about lab safety like an onion. Seriously, it's got all these protective layers, and we're going to peel them back one by one, starting right at the very core, which, by the way, is you.
So, layer number one is what I like to call your personal safety shield. This is the stuff you do, the gear you wear, and the mindset you have before an experiment even begins. It all starts and ends with you.
First things first, let's talk about your armor, your personal protective equipment, or PPE. These three are the absolute non-negotiables. Your lab coat is there to protect your skin from splashes. The gloves, they're your shield against nasty chemicals. And your safety glasses, well, they guard your eyes, which are pretty much irreplaceable. This is your first line of defense, always.
And that personal shield goes beyond just the gear. It's also about simple, smart habits. Things like wearing closed-toed shoes, to protect your feet, tying back long hair so it doesn't get into a flame or a chemical. And this one's huge. Never, ever eat, drink, or even put on lip balm in the lab. Every single one of these rules exists because it prevents a very specific and totally avoidable accident.
Okay, you're suited up. Let's peel back that next layer. Now we're talking about your actions, what you actually do in the lab. These are the procedures that keep not just you safe, but everyone around you too. Look, if you only remember one single rule from this whole explainer, please make it this one. If you pour water into a strong acid, it can create an insane amount of heat, like instantly. We're talking a reaction so violent, it can literally cause the mixture to boil and erupt right out of the beaker, splashing acid everywhere. The safe way to do it is the complete opposite. You always start with your water, and then you slowly, carefully add the acid to it. Why? Because that big volume of water can absorb the heat safely as you pour. Just remember the little rhyme. Do as you oughta, add acid to water.
Here's another super important one: how to smell a chemical. And no, you never ever stick your nose right over the bottle and take a big sniff. Those fumes can be seriously toxic. The right way is called wafting. You hold the container a good distance away and just gently fan the vapors toward your nose with your hand. It's a simple little technique that tells you what you need to know without putting you in danger.
All right, on to the third layer. We've covered you and your actions. Now, let's zoom out and look at the whole lab environment. Think of your chemical storage area like a little neighborhood. And just like in any neighborhood, some neighbors really shouldn't live next to each other.
First up, we've got the flammables. The name pretty much says it all, right? These are things like alcohols, ethers, acetone, chemicals that can catch fire really easily. They're probably the biggest fire hazard in most labs.
So storing them correctly is a huge deal. You've got to keep them far away from any heat source, any spark, but the absolute golden rule, keep them totally separate from another group of chemicals called oxidizers. We'll get to those guys in a minute. This is exactly why proper labs have special fire-resistant safety cabinets just for flammables. Next are the corrosives. These are your strong acids and bases. They're dangerous because they can cause really bad chemical burns on your skin, but they can also literally eat right through metal. And what's really important to know is that acids and bases are basically mortal enemies. They can react violently if you mix them.
So the rules here are strict for a reason. You have to keep acids and bases in separate areas, always store them on lower shelves, that way if there's a spill, it's not splashing up into your face. And obviously, don't store them on metal shelves that they can destroy. Using plastic trays to catch any drips is also a must.
Our third group here are the toxics. These are, well, poisons. The danger with these isn't about fire or corrosion. It's about what they do to your body if you're exposed to too much. And the effects can be incredibly serious.
So for these, the name of the game is containment and just minimizing how much is around. You want them in a well-ventilated spot, you want those containers sealed up good and tight, and you really only want to keep the absolute smallest amount you need for your work on hand.
And that brings us to the oxidizers. Now, these chemicals are a little tricky. They might not be flammable themselves, but they release oxygen. And what does fire love? Oxygen. So oxidizers can make other things burn way hotter and way faster, or even cause materials that normally don't burn to suddenly burst into flame. They're basically fire's hype man.
And that is why the #1 most important rule of chemical storage is to keep oxidizers far, far away from flammables and anything else that burns, like wood or paper. Seriously, putting a bottle of oxidizer on a wooden shelf isn't just poor organization, you're basically building a little bomb. For these chemicals, separation is everything.
Okay, we've made it to our final outermost layer of the onion, the lab's safety blueprint. This layer isn't about what you do in the moment. It's about the bigger systems, the lab's design, and the documentation that creates a safe foundation for everyone. You know, good safety really begins with smart design. A well-laid-out lab gives you enough space to work without feeling cramped. It has countertops that won't get destroyed by a chemical spill, and it makes sure that emergency equipment like safety showers and eye wash stations are right there, easy to see and easy to get to. It's safety that's just built into the background.
So how in the world are you supposed to know the specific dangers of every single chemical? Well, you don't have to memorize it all. You just need to know where to look, the Materials Safety Data Sheet, or MSDS. Every chemical comes with one, and labs have to keep them available. Think of it as the official biography for a chemical. It tells you what the hazards are, how to handle it, and exactly what to do in an emergency. And finally, we have SOPs, which stands for Standard Operating Procedures. These are basically the official playbook for everything you do in the lab. By writing down the exact, step-by-step instructions for a task, SOPs make sure that everyone does it the same, safe and effective way every single time. They take all the guesswork out of the equation.
At the end of the day, it all comes down to this. It's probably the oldest rule in the lab, and for good reason. Safety first. It's a simple little phrase, but it sums up every single layer we just talked about. It means that before you do anything, before you pick up a tool, before you measure a chemical, you take a half second to think, what is the safest way to do this? Because when you get right down to it, all of these layers, the gear, the rules, the storage cabinets, the documents, they're all useless without the most critical layer of all, your brain, your attention. Safety isn't just a checklist you run through in the morning, it's a mindset. It's a constant state of awareness. So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. Is your safety mindset switched on?